Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How's everybody doing? Hope everyone is good. Obviously, this will be a special episode with our good friend, Euro expert. I know last year you guys enjoyed the episode, so yeah, we will definitely. We've got lots to unpack, lots to discuss, and yeah, you guys will enjoy. Let me get Alex on now. Hold on, guys. Good evening, everyone. Yes, Shelves. How you doing, bro?
I'm cool. I can't miss this one. I can't miss this one. When it comes to, the football insights, come on, man.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone's having a good evening, though. That's what that Tate Rogers. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that. I thought this my fucking. Let's see what.
Hello.
I was about to say good
Hello.
afternoon, good evening, good evening.
Oh my goodness, your mic.
Bad? I'll sit back.
Yeah.
Better now, better now.
Is
Yeah.
it just me? I think I can hear you now.
Yeah, no, we can hear him.
Yeah.
Can everyone else in the chat hear him?
Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Woo.
Perfect. How are you doing, bro? How's everything going?
It's going good, man. I'm enjoying the fact it's the end of the season. I can finally relax. I don't know about you guys.
I was gonna say, wow, your Maresca predictions that you said last summer to us, fair play, fair play. You smashed it. I was very surprised by that. Wow, it's a great prediction.
Thank you. It's just pure luck.
No. That wasn't luck. I can't lie to you. That one there wasn't luck. That one there wasn't luck. You've done well. What's your, first of all, Alex, I want to say, in regards to the content you produced in the past, the past season, very enjoyable content. The guys are always sharing your articles to read it and, see what you said in regards to certain players and what was debating and, arguing about certain things and whatnot. So keep up the good work, man. It's really, really enjoyable. Keep up the hard work. It's really, really good. But yeah, the chat wanna also, Alex, if you can please plug yourself in regards to your social, so everyone can keep up to date with all the good work
Oh,
you
thank you.
posting up there.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can find me. I think it's the I've put on this, which we had to see. Alexander BRKR. It was Euro expert. I had to ditch that because I got bullied by Barcelona fans, and I decided, you know what, I can't do it anymore. So I've got Alexander BRKR is where you can find me on X, and that's basically where I am right now. I've just called it X. I'm so sorry. Where you can find me on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. So guys, there it is. Everyone in here, make sure you go and support Alex, comment on his articles when he posts them, retweet it, show some love and support. Over here we support everyone that's doing anything positive. So yeah, just make sure you give some of the articles a read and some very good, insightful articles and opinions on some of you guys' favorite players. So make sure you look in. But yeah, Alex, thank you for coming on to this evening. We really appreciate it. And to start things off, first and foremost, we want to say Chelsea this season. What are your thoughts on the season we've just had? And what are your thoughts on Enzo Maresca?
It's an interesting one, right? Because you obviously started the season really well, and then you had that bad patch I was kind of anticipating, where you're dominating possession and you're not converting, you're not creating any chances, right? And it feels like the attack falls off. I guess like it's really hard not to compare it to that Sarri season in 18-19. It just felt so similar throughout. But I guess like where if I give Maresca a bit of sympathy in like some ways, I think injuries did kill him in some areas, like up front. And Kunku just turned out to be a really poor backup to Jackson. And like after Jackson, it's like okay, you've got no one to play up front. Like the winger situation. I mean, I like Madueke, which I know was controversial last year, and but I don't think like he's. I don't know if he's like an elite Premier League winger, right? And the fact he's probably your best winger compared to the ones you had, Neto and Sancho. It's like when Madueke goes, it's like okay, so you've got subpar strikers, subpar wingers. So in that regard, when Chelsea went on a bad run of form with the injuries, I was like, okay, I'm kind of willing to like forgive Maresca a bit here, but at the same time, I feel the biggest criticism you can make of him is the jury's still kind of out on how good of a manager he is at creating, how good of a coach he is at creating a team that's like prime city, right? Like a team that's not just lining up in, I don't know, I know it's not a 3-2-5 to say, but lining up in, you know, the formation where you want players in position, like Palmer in the 10, Jackson up front, and new Fernandez in the 10, and it's like players getting into position, but not necessarily like having good rotations, having good movement, and actually doing things enough to disrupt the opposition. So yeah, like the one thing I'll say on that, and I've spoken a lot here, but the the final caveat I will add to that is I remember Maresca in pre-season talking about how he wanted to completely change the way Chelsea press. Like obviously Pochettino did a lot of things at Chelsea, and one of them was pressing a 4-4-2, which was, sometimes not great. And Maresca was like, I'm changing this like in preseason. This is my big objective. And broadly, I think Chelsea have actually defended quite well across the season. So if he was to say, okay, we haven't been that good going forward, but when I arrived, my objective was to tidy us up defensively. And in 25-26, I'll clear up the attack. If he was to say that, I'd be like, okay, let's see.
Okay. That's interesting. And obviously, as you do know, we've been getting very busy in the window. You know how Chelsea are. We love to spend. We love to be the story of the window. And it looks like we've got ourselves a new number 9 in regards to Liam Delap. And I would love to get your thoughts on him and how you think he'll fit in Maresca's system. And in your honest view, is Delap the right man for Chelsea? We have a lot of split opinions in regards to the fan base and the community in here in regards to Delap. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, Alex.
May I ask what are what's like the biggest things that people disagree on, or is it just him like in general, really?
Do you know what? Okay. Me, myself, personally, I just think that he's not ready for the big step yet, in my honest opinion. I think that he may need one more season, and I did believe him potentially going to Everton, being under David Moyes, would have done him better than coming to Chelsea right now in this moment of his career. And I just feel like the hype is overblown. It's overblown. Don't get me wrong. He got 12 goals, which is a good return for Ipswich. I can't take that away from him. But I just feel like there's so much more that needs to be added to his game for me to confidently say this guy is ready to lead the line for Chelsea, because we want to be competing for the best trophies, the Champions League, the Premier Leagues, whatnot. The pressure at Ipswich is not the pressure at Chelsea. When you're wearing an Ipswich shirt, it's all well and good, but when you put that Chelsea shirt on, we've seen it many times. You saw it with Torres, you saw it with Shevchenko. The pressure is different. So for me, what people are seeing at Ipswich doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to Chelsea. That's my honest opinion. And others, the chat can tell you what they think and why they say what they say, but a lot of them just think that he's bang average and he's just not at the required level.
So I agree with basically everything you've said. Actually, I was listening there, but if you heard folding paper, it's because I was being nerdy and getting my book out on where I've written my Liam Delap notes, just to make sure I give you good detail. But like in sentiment, I'm with you on every step. The only one I'm like, I think him going to Everton first is a fun shout. What I was to let people behind the curtain. This week I was going to do for work. For anyone who doesn't know, I work at the Athletic. I was going to do a sensible transfer video on Liam Delap and be like, what is the most sensible destination for him to go in the next step in his career?
Yeah.
And I canned the video because it looked like he's going to join Man United, and then he ended up look like he's going to join Chelsea, right? But I was going to say Newcastle as like a backup to Alexander Isak, because I'm with you in that I think he's good, but there's a lot of areas of his game which I think are going to be exposed in his first season at Chelsea. So the main issue I have with him is link-up play. I just think he's way too inconsistent with his passing. And like his first touch as well. I went through all of these like I have an app called My Game Plan, right? And I'm basically able to look at all of his passes he receives in central areas. And when you get that playlist up, like it's so inconsistent how often he's able to keep the ball. There's like one time that really sticks in my head where he receives like a through ball against Man United. He scans, which is good. So he turns around, he sees there's a ton of space he can run into.
Yeah.
It's a flat pass coming his way, and he somehow turns it into like a bouncing ball. And it's like I don't it's not a Chelsea level striker to do that. Like if he was better, if he was more technically gifted, he'd just keep the ball at his feet, carry forward. But what ends up happening is he loses control of it. He has to sprint to keep hold, and he ends up like doing well, but still running into a Man United defender.
Yeah.
So that's definitely like my biggest concern. I think if he was like the rotation option at Chelsea, I can see it because like in terms of projection, I do think there's a lot to like in terms of profile for Chelsea. So physicality, like I said, I've been looking at him quite a lot of detail, and I did two things. So when I watched him recently, obviously watched recent games, surprise, and I also watched the games at the start of the season. There was quite a few things he's improved on, but one thing was clear: like from the moment he stepped in the Premier League, he can bully so many defenders. He like physically he's already at the level. So I think he'll be like a really good player for Chelsea inside the box. But yeah, he just needs to improve the technical stuff. I can talk further, but I'll let you guys react to this. I will say as well, in terms of him being overhyped, I have a theory for this, and it's because he was linked to Manchester United, and there's a lot of analysts who are Manchester United fans. And whenever a player gets linked to Manchester United, people on Twitter will do big threads and say, this guy is amazing, he's brilliant. And then you'll get the words out, like people pretending they know about like biomechanics. And it's like Liam Delap's like length of his shins means he's going to be a world-class superstar as soon as he arrives. All that nonsense comes out, and it leaves people thinking, oh, he's the best in the world or whatever. But he is just a decent Premier League striker who's got a lot of area to improve.
Fair enough. You know what? I'm gonna let my co-host respond to that because I've been fighting him for half a year about Liam Delap and why I believe he shouldn't be coming back. So I'm gonna let him answer to that.
You're silly. No, to be fair, listen, I hear all the criticisms. I've said already, like, I don't think the left is the finished article. There's a lot in his game that 100% I think needs to be worked on. But I think when I watch him, like, he just has the fundamentals that you want from a striker. As already said, like, he's already, bro, the guys are physically, he's capable of battling any defender in the Prem. Like, any defender in the Prem, yeah, he's capable of battling. And we're going to need that up front because realistically, you look at Jackson, he can't do it. Yeah. I do have like questions about how he would fare in like a low block. But when I watch his movement in the box, like he has top movement. Aerially, cool. He's not an Oshiman aerially, but he has a good leap. Now, how that translates to him being able to score like headers from crosses and etc. We're gonna have to wait and see, because it's not like Ipswich put tons of crosses into the box. Like they put some, and he could test them, but like we haven't really seen him score a header in the Premier League. Shooting wise, I think he's a good finisher, but I wouldn't say like he places them. A lot of his finishing is to do with power, but I think like a lot of it's just as he grows older, like a lot of this part of his game is going to be more refined, and that's what I look at. Like, I'm looking at him right now, and I'm thinking, you're at this. I think you're good, at a very good level now. In about 2 years, I think you're going to be at a, as long as everything goes well. Anyways, I think you're going to be at a top level. That's how I look at it. But again, certain people might look at it different. You, Alex, you might look at it different. But you tell me if I'm wrong, or
No,
tell me what you see.
I actually think you're like all the stuff you said is pretty much similar to our notes. I don't think it's interesting to hear you two disagree. Like I think that's you're broadly on the same page, right? Like he's good, but it's just needs refining. Like, and to echo your sentiment, like to back it up. So when I do notes on players, I copy the most basic scouting format because I'm an amateur. It's basically when you note on players, you do physical, psychological, tactical, and technical notes, right? That's how you tend to split your notes up. So on the book in front of me, I've got like 4 sections in that regard. So in the technical area, I've got a load of negative notes, like we just spoke about. He's mainly his link up play. His shooting, I actually think he's a good finisher. He's a good ball striker. Um, I think he can rely a bit more on power over accuracy. Hopefully that'll improve. So technical is like a bit mixed, a lot of negative notes, but I echo your like positive thoughts. Dribbling's also pretty nice. Tactical is like it's Ipswich, so what you meant to do. But you know, there's some good movement there, and just like profile wise that we've spoken about, and then physical and psychological, like basically all of that is good notes. That in echoing what you're saying, like he's got the fundamentals. I think his movement's really nice. I think that's a good thing to point out. And he's got a good work rate as well out of possession, which clearly Maresca likes. And like even the things you could criticize him for, I think you can blame Ipswich for. So he's a really bad shooter just in terms of location. Like he takes shots in really bad positions.
Yeah,
And I think that's probably I think that sometimes isn't like that can be improved. There are a couple of times where he could pass it to a teammate and instead he just shoots from outside of the box. But also it's Ipswich. Like he's probably been asked to when you get a chance to shoot because we're Ipswich we can't score. And you mentioned about the crosses. I'm not sure if it's changed since, but when I did my analysis on Delap, Ipswich completed the fewest they attempted the fewest crosses in the box. That was another point. It's like, hang on a second, what's going on here? So I also think he could improve in the air, but same point. Like he's not being set up well. Really, I think with Delap, where disagreements is going to come in, it is just based on how much he can improve, and this is a debate every player is going to have. Every person can have about a player. Me and John McKenzie at work, we're talking about a couple of defenders, Kulirakis at Wolfsburg, right? And Nico Voltmarder as well. Actually, he was the main one at Stuttgart. We had basically the same opinion on like Voltmarder as a player right now. Where we disagreed was I'm a bit more optimistic he can improve. John's like I think he's just kind of the finished article, and that's his take for a lot of players when they're early 20s, right? So yeah, I think your opinion on Delap is just going to come down to like how much he can improve. But I feel like we're all on the same page if he's just not there yet.
definitely, especially not to like take it off of topics, like still onto the lap, but there's a couple people that I was saying the reason I would opt for instance, the lap over Sesko is because in my personal opinion, the lap right now is more ready for Premier League football than Sesko. Now it's funny because you might see Sesko in the Premier next season at Arsenal, so I'm intrigued to see how that goes. I actually rate Sesko, but I kept telling people, listen, Sesko long term, he probably does have the higher ceiling, but right now for what we need, the issues in Sesko's game, for me, are more strife than the issues in Delap's game. So I was like, for the price and for what we need right now, if it comes down to Sesko and Delap, I'm picking Delap because I just think he has more what we need right now than Sesko, who is going to come here and, for me, hold up plays the issue with Sesko, finishing is the issue with Sesko, and like he has a whole multitude of other issues. But yeah, I guess that can kind of be a conversation for another time. For sure, for sure.
I just think with Delap and Sesko, I just think personally, like I think Delap's got a pretty decent floor in terms of if it goes badly, how wrong can it go? Whereas Sesko, like if it goes badly, and like with all due respect to Hoyland, like it could be similar to where like he just looks way off it. But then if it goes well for Sesko, you're looking at potentially like the best 9 on the planet. And with where we are at right now, I just don't think we can take another risk with a low floor, high ceiling signing. I think we need some sort of a guarantee. Like personally, I don't particularly want Delap to start like 35, 38 games for us next season. But if it came down to him being our number one, I personally think with what we have around him or what we're projected to have around him, I personally don't see any less than 15 goals. And I think potentially he could hit 20 if things go really well. But with other strikers like Sesko, we could be looking at like maybe like 7-10 goals. But then if it goes really well, 20 plus. And I just think Delap, even though I get he's unproven and he's only had one Premier League season, but he's come through the City Academy, which typically translates quite well to the Premier League. I think with his current issues, which probably are more technical than physical, because I think physically there's not really much maturation that needs to be done. I just think I really just don't see a world where it like flops. So I think cool if we have him as a backup, fantastic. But if we had him as a number one, again, I don't think it would go terribly, but it wouldn't be my ideal choice.
I think of Delap as number one as well. Even if he's not scoring, he's going to be causing much more of a problem inside the box and distracting more defenders. And you know, a big part of breaking down low blocks is like long shots. It's funny because it doesn't come up in an XG world, right? But that is a big way of like how City have been able to beat teams in the past, how Arsenal struggled to beat teams because they lack outside of the box shooters until Declan Rice got that in his bag. So, like, if you have Delap in the box, he's probably going to be more of a magnet than Jackson is, just due to his physicality, and that's probably going to hopefully allow more range, to the likes of more space to the likes of Cole Palmer, and like more shots from the edge. And yeah, it's like a good knock-on effect potentially for Delap. And I'll just like, echo your sentiment, CFC Roy, about Sesko as well. Like, I think the best way to sum up Sesko's just got a lower floor and a higher ceiling than Delap. Like, he could come in and really struggle. Because yeah, finishing wise, there's not to get into it. There is a lot to talk about there. But equally, like he's one of the best ball strikers in the world, despite not being a good finisher. So you really don't know with Benjamin Sesko. Whereas Delap, I can see like higher floor, lower ceiling.
Wow. So, in your opinion, Alex, do you think that if you had to pick between Delap and Sesko in regards to the way we set up and Enzo Maresca, are we making the correct decision?
Oh, good question. It's been a while since I watched Sesko. I'm not dodging your question, don't worry. I'm just getting that caveat in. To be honest, I'm going to go on what I've written on Delap, which was I can definitely see him playing well for an elite team. It might be a while until he's ready. And what I've just said as well, I feel like my gut says Delap, even though, like you say, it doesn't feel right. Like Sesko's been at the top level for a longer time. And for the record, I think either one of those moves could go really well. But I do think Chelsea just lack that physicality that Delap has. And him adding that is like that strength in the boat. And I think the good thing about Delap as well, he's going to be cheaper than Sesko. So it will allow you to strengthen other areas of the squad, potentially even like buy another striker. So yeah, I'd probably go Delap.
Oh wow!
I told you,
Just
dog.
like Shelves and one and Roy's gonna win.
I told you.
So another striker. I know you've written about him, and all of us were talking about it. It was a very good written piece that you done, and that is Mr. Hugo Boss, Mr. Hugo Ekitike, and wow, he's another one that splits a lot of the fan base in regards to a lot of them think he's not good enough. A lot of them say he can't strike the football. Everyone says that he just uses his side foot. He can't lace a ball. What is your honest thoughts on Hugo, Alex? And is he ready for the next step? He's another target we are also still pursuing, despite the fact that we've got the lap wrapped up. So, is this a smart thing by Chelsea going for two young strikers? And I don't know how this is going to work in terms of both of them potentially competing for one role up front. And who would you think is better, in your opinion, from what you've seen?
So I want to make it absolutely clear because I know I have a bit of reputation online for hating Hugo Ekitike. I do really like him. I love watching him play. And to also on your point just now, just answer your question straight away. If you're signing him plus Liam Delap, I'm a much bigger fan of that move than Ekitike alone. But at the same time, I know it's not fun, but it's about how great he is to watch. He definitely has flaws, and I will stand by them. I know they're really unpopular, particularly his finishing as well. Like you just mentioned, um, they said there's questions over his finishing. In
Yeah,
in my opinion, I don't think there are questions. I'm seeing a lot of the discourse go around. I'll try and measure this because there might be people who could prove he is a good finisher, and I'm genuinely open to that. But there's a lot of people I think who are looking at his XG record, right, and saying
yeah,
that he's underperformed this season, but he's overperformed in the past, so maybe this year's just a down year. I've watched I've watched him like all of his shots on 3 separate occasions this season. Like most recently this week on a video that someone kindly put in the chat, right? Because I keep doubting myself by people saying he's actually great at goal scoring, and every time I watch him, I go, "Well, he isn't," because he takes shots from really like odd angles. Essentially, he can't, but like most of his shots are very low. Like even from outside the box, they're going bottom corner. A bottom
yeah,
corner might sound like a good thing, but it's very rarely in the top corner. Like, yes, he scores that goal against Tottenham, but then he'll do that low shot like 3 or 4 more times, and the goalkeeper very like easily saves it. See, he does seem to struggle from range. So if you're struggling from range, that means you probably want to get him in the box as much as possible. Okay, if he's at Chelsea and he's giving me in the box as much as possible, it's going to be a crowded box because at least under Enzo Maresca, you guys crowd opponents into their own half. Like only Man City. This is a complicated stat, so I'm going to explain it properly. In Only Man City allowed fewer touches inside their defensive half than Chelsea this season. So Chelsea is squeezing teams in, right? There's
yeah.
less space in the box, which means you probably want a striker who's physical and can handle defenders. Ekitike is tall, but he is so lean. This is genuinely my personal opinion here. Genuine is wrong word, but like a lot of what I've said here, I would stand by in like a professional capacity. This is
Yes.
more my personal thing. I
Yeah.
was watching him at PSG, and I've watched him at Frankfurt. I think he's got a lot lighter. I think he's sacrificed like a lot of muscle essentially for speed and agility. And it's like he's so good 1v1, but he can just be like thrown off balance really well, like quite easily by physical defenders. And not even like monster ones like a Van Dijk, just like an average Bundesliga defender. So do you want that guy in the box? I don't think so. So in terms of Hugo Ekitike to Chelsea, my concern is okay, on the one hand, he's not that great from range yet. Maybe he'll get better in terms of ball striking, but I stand by the fact he's not there yet.
Yeah.
And he might not be that effective in the box. So I don't really see the fit going well at Chelsea.
Ooh. What's your thoughts, lads? And one right shot.
If I can just chime in here, I echo a lot of what Alex has said. I think he's clearly a good player. He's clearly a very talented player. I think technically he's very, very good for someone of his size and compared to most other strikers. But again, it's just that box presence I'm very, very doubtful on. If you look at how we've played, like a lot of times we've put great balls into the box and it's just a case of it not being attacked or like Jackson or whoever's up front sort of being beaten by the defender, and maybe Ekitike would what I was going to say face a lot of the same issues, and I think that's why I'm quite hesitant on him. And then if you look at the fee quoted as well, like if we're talking like a 100 million euro release clause, let's say we get it down a bit, so that's probably like 70 million pounds or so, alongside Liam Delap. if we're going to buy someone for over double his price, I need a guarantee. And I just think as of right now, there are probably too many flaws in this game. And I wanted to ask Alex, because I think he's compared to Alexander Isak a lot because he's tall, he's quite technical, obviously quite lean as well. And I'm not saying they're of the same objective quality, because I still think there's quite a sizable gap. But do you see him potentially becoming maybe not that level, but the kind of striker where he's tall, technical, and he's got a goal scoring bag as well? Or do you see him more potentially is like maybe like a more of a false nine kind where he can drop deep, link play, and then attack a box after?
Yeah, it's a good question. I know a lot of people make this Isak comparison, and I think I'm with you by the goal scoring, just because the goal scoring, I think what you've described there was like, just in terms of profile, like this tall, technical striker who can like take players on essentially. Like that, I guess that's like a profile thing, and in that way, I think Ekitike is very much the next Alexander Isak. But I think the thing that Isak has, maybe more Ekitike, is caveat. I've not watched as much Isak as Ekitike, but I think Isak's a bit stronger, just a bit
Yeah,
more
I agree.
physical, and as well, it just comes back to the finishing. Like I just think maybe Ekitike does improve at this, but right now, like Isak is just a much better finisher, like a much more reliable finisher is the way to say it. Like just to extend on what I was saying before, because I'll be honest, I was struggling through my own handwriting, and then I remembered what I'd written. It's not just like shooting from range and struggling to get the ball like in the air. Like Ekitike as well is just like quite unreliable. I think on he's very right-footed when he's shooting, and he's quite unreliable on it, I'd say, because he sometimes when he's like going to shoot across goal, he'll like slice it. And if you look at his shot map on FotMob, for example, you'll see there's a lot of missed shots, like just to the right of the 6-yard box, where he's just like smashing it, going straight into the side netting, right? So yeah, I just think I agree with you. I think he's kind of the next Isak, but to get to that level, he's got to massively improve in his goal scoring. And then, yeah, I think it'd be a pretty close match, I guess.
Do you think, like, because obviously players' development it's not linear. Like, you can develop really quickly and then plateau. You can not develop a lot and then explode. But in terms of finishing specifically, like, how scalable do you think it is? Because I don't know many strikers who, at his age, weren't particularly reliable in front of goal and then became. I'm not saying he's going to be like Harry Kane, where he's got absolutely everything in his locker, but he became like a reliable finisher where you can trust him to put the ball in the back of the net?
That's a good question. I can't think of any striker who is like that. Like I said, who's been on that similar journey. The only one that rings a bell is Salah, right? Wasn't he quite a bad finisher when he was younger, and then he's obviously got very, very good. But I'm I'd wager most strikers this bad at finishing don't get that much better, and it probably takes something quite unique for like a really big improvement. Yeah, I think there's not many strikers I can think of who would do that.
Wow. Okay. Another thing, Alex, that I wanted to ask you. There was another striker that we've been keen on, and I think he's good striker, but I can understand why people have their doubts. And this is Mr. Victor Gyokeres. And I wanted to know, Alex, why is it that it seems that everyone's scared to really make him the number one target? That he's not. I don't know. I just got that feeling that people are hesitant to go for him. Like, what do you think it is, Alex? And what's your thoughts on him? Do you rate him at all? Like, what's your honest opinion on him?
I just love how the striker market this year, on the surface, it's like there's so many good strikers around, and then when you start digging into it, it's like there's no good strikers around. They all suck. No, Gyokeres, I'm yet to do like a big deep dive on Gyokeres, so my answer will not be anywhere near as detailed as it was for Ekitike and Delap. But to answer your question, why people were scared, I mean, it comes down to the Portuguese league, right?
Yeah.
I'm. It's a slight change of subject, but it's related. I think Ruben Amorim, if Man United sacked him this summer, that'd be a decision I would look at and go kind of fair enough. because I think he's been a very good example of while adapting from the top of the Portuguese league to the Premier League, competing against all teams is not necessarily a smooth transition. I think the thing with Gyokeres, his goal scoring record is obviously nuts. I hate how a lot of people share it without penalties, because penalties account for like a much larger proportion than other strikers do for his goal tally, right? And also, it is just the quality of the league, like defensively. I was watching Francisco Moura. No one here will know who that is because they all have lives. But I was watching Miss Porto left back, and like he just watching him from an attacking standpoint, and sometimes some of the goals he's able to assist in the league, like it's obviously not a farmers league, and I'm a big defender of Liga, and so I'd never go that far, but it is just off the standard of the Premier League, right? Gyokeres just gets a lot of space, I think, that he wouldn't get in the Premier League. It's certainly for an elite team, and he's able to beat defenders like. He's able to beat defenders who just aren't of the quality of the Premier League, and that's not necessarily a diss on the Portuguese league. I think what we have to remember is, Porto in the Premier League, they could very well finish 10th, right? Like just off my top of my head. Like Sporting could finish that position. The best teams in the Portuguese league, like there's no guarantee they'd even finish in the top 6. And that's because the Premier League is the best league in the world. It's got the best managers in the world. It's got generally the best defenders in the world, right? So you're asking someone to come in and transition from like playing against the likes of Casapia and for Managerial to, I don't know, Newcastle, right? Or that's a bit harsh because they're near a top team, but let's just say West Ham, who finished like near the bottom of the table, they still tied it up defensively. It's just a massive transition, and Gyokeres is going to cost a huge price. So I mean, it's like that's why people are scared. I'd be scared if I'm a recruitment team. I haven't looked at him in detail yet, like I said, but I'd be like watching him intently to try and make sure, like, of every area I can be to see if he could translate well to the Prem.
Wow. And do you know what? Before I wanted to move on to in terms of the winger targets, I wanted to get your honest view on this, right? Because I'm not gonna lie to you, Alex. Every day I'm fighting for my life with the community in here and people on Twitter and the gentlemen on stage in regards to my uncle Ruben Amorim. They always, telling me he's rubbish, he needs to be sacked, he's a terrible coach, all of this stuff. And I'm saying, you know what? You guys need to give him time because I understand he deserves all the crashings in the world. He's been an absolute disgrace in the Premier League. I can't take that away. However, from the work that I saw him do at Sporting Lisbon, for me, he did a very good job. And if people actually go back and see the mess that that club was in, and he's made them winners and he's left them in a stable way where they can win a league title, without him, I rate the job that he done. And I believe he deserves an opportunity to rebuild United before he's fairly judged and has a pre-season and get his targets in. So, from what you've seen this season, Alex, what are your thoughts on him as a manager? What were your thoughts on him before he came to United? And do you believe he's going to prove everyone wrong?
Yeah, I'll keep this quick because, like I said, you've got winger targets to talk about. But I agree with you. Like Amorim did superb at Sporting. And you're right. If you go back into where Sporting were as a club and what he did when he took over, like it's huge. But it's very much the same concern I've about Victor Gyokeres. It's a huge transition to go from being one of the best teams in Portugal, which if you look at like there's lots of good studies on this. The Portuguese league, as I've kind of hinted at, is one of the most imbalanced leagues amongst Europe's top leagues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it often gets compared to Ligue 1. In Ligue 1, if you take away PSG, which obviously, it's like a big ask, okay. But if you take PSG away, a lot of that league is very much on the same level. That's why you get quite a lot of interchangeability within the teams. Like Stade Brest, for example, going from near the relegation zone towards the top of the table. It's a very competitive league outside of PSG. In Portugal, Porto just finished third. They had 71 points. That's their worst season since 2008. Right? That's how like top end this league is. So just to make this quick on Amorim, I'll say I'm not writing you off completely as a manager, but I just don't think he should have gone to Manchester United. Going to Manchester United means every game you play, unless it's against the top six, you're going to have to break down a low block. You have to try and break down some of the best organised defences in the world with some of the best players in the world. And in order to do that, your attacking tactics, your game plan needs to be top notch. And I just think you should have gone to a team like West Ham who are interested, or
I
Dortmund,
told
or someone like that who've got a bit more who teams where there's more room for error, and he's not always going to have to break down a block, and there's just going to be space for his team to exploit. At Man United, I think he's doomed.
listen. Sorry to cut you off before we move on to wingers, but Darko, I warned you. I said, listen, me and Roy, we told you in the Portuguese league, it's all fine beating Casapia every other week, yeah, because you have the best players in the league, yeah. When you come to the Premier League and you're facing Glasgow at Crystal Palace, but he knows how to set up a team, and you don't have the quality. Let's see what you're really at. Let's see what you're really doing.
Okay,
And tactically, he's
but
not him.
Alex is saying that Ruben Amorim is a good coach. He just shouldn't have gone to United because the whole
But what?
United spiritually, there's something wrong with that football club. It is broken. Nobody could save them. I'm telling you, it is broken. And do you know what the good thing about this is? When he does get things right, which I believe he does, it's gonna be such a beautiful story because he literally went through hell. He's gone through hell. So when he does get things right, you lot are gonna be in the mud.
What I will say on Amorim at the Man United, to be fair, I was talking about this with someone yesterday. They are caught in a mentality trap, right? Next season, or no, this season is a better example. West Ham. I keep going back to them in my local team. That's why. West Ham, they're going to play against Man United. They're 17th. Sorry, no, this is actually a bad example. Let's go Brighton. Brighton high on the table, like top 8, right? Fighting at 1 point for Champions League football. Man United, 15th in the league, come to down. On paper, Brighton should be the team. They should be the team thinking, right, we've got to prepare for, we've got Newcastle next week. This is our big game. Let's prepare for that. We've got 15th in the league. Let's reset. The problem with Man United is every team that plays against them goes, this is Manchester United. That this week we're preparing, let's dig in, let's defend with our backs against the wall, let's not give them any space, let's not give them any chance to counter-attack. We're going to let them have the ball and we're going to counter. This is the problem Man United have with basically all the teams in the Premier League, and they just haven't got the quality to do it. It's like this horrible, god-awful mix, which comes around rarely, and when it does come around, it's what I think ends up with teams like Lyon, for example, almost getting relegated a couple of seasons ago. Dortmund under Klopp, when they didn't have the quality to break down teams, and they just carried on getting counter-attacked, all right? Manchester United in that same thing. They've not got the quality to break down low blocks, but because they're Manchester United, everyone low blocks against them. It's why that club is so hard to do well at. And good luck, Amorim.
Yeah. We'll next season we'll definitely revisit and we'll see how Amorim's doing. But in regards to winger targets now, Alex, I'm gonna give you 3 names that we are very keen on and looking to potentially get one of them this summer. Garnacho, Gittins, and Nico Williams. And first of all, Alex, I want to hear your opinion on 3 of the names I've mentioned in regards to each of them individually, and which one do you believe would be best for Chelsea, and how highly do you rate each of them 3 targets? One of them, I have seen one of your pieces on one of them, which was Gittins. And listen, I was choking on my Fanta having it that day because that same day you released that, I was fighting a couple of people on stage about him. Not saying that they was, for him, but just trying to show them that, listen, this guy, he has to stay away. I'm sorry. He's not ready. He's not at the level. So I want to get your view on that.
Right. I'll try and be quick fire on these. So Gittins, like you said, we'll start with him quickly. He's the one I've watched the most. I have a lot of issues. I don't think he's ready for Chelsea. He's extremely talented, but I just think he's very raw, and there's a lot of things I want more from him. Just to name one thing, needs to get his head up when crossing. Like I think it might be too often he'll dribble down the line, never looks up, puts the ball into the box, it's to nobody, gets cleared, and it's like this is something that just absolutely needs to be improved. that's just one part of his game. I just think he's still a very raw talent in a lot of ways. He had a very good start to the season, then dropped off. There's a reason why Niko Kovac at Dortmund kind of benched him for second half of the season. Garnacho. Garnacho's a funny one. I think I have concerns about his ability. So he's a good dribbler on the counter, but that's a different. That's like carrying, right? Progressive carrying, I guess. And if someone dives into a tackle because you're on the counter, right, you're able to run at a defender, and they're running back towards their goal. I think Garnacho thrives in that environment. I have concerns how well he'd do against for Chelsea, for example, where he's probably going to be taking players on from a standing start. Receiving the ball out wide, he's not got the advantage of momentum on his side. He's going to have to create that momentum himself. I have concerns on Garnacho's ability to do that. Also, think his shooting's wild. So with him, he's in the same bucket as Jamie Gittins, not really ready yet, but promising. I think Nico Williams is just like a completely different level to these guys. To be fair, I've not watched him as much this season, but I know his goal scoring numbers aren't anywhere near as high as they were last season, right? I think last season he was pretty high. To be fair, 16 goals and assists last season, 10 goals and assists in 22 games this season. That's for Athletic Club, who did finish fourth, I think, in La Liga, but not the best. They're not scoring as many goals or haven't got as potent attack as other teams. But when you watch Williams, I think he's just a really, really good dribbler. He's also 2-footed, and that is such an important quality that I just can't emphasize enough. I think if I'm going to leave people with one impression today, if someone is 2-footed, they're genuinely good on both feet or at shooting and passing.
Yeah,
it's such a cheat code in this game, man. Alexander Ribeiro at Lille, a centre back, he's 2-footed passer. It just means you can build up is super easy for him. Jonathan David, 2-footed striker, means he can play wingers through on both feet, can shoot first time on both feet. It's so good. And Williams, 2-footed, means he can go inside or outside again on both the left and right. So I just think he's quite clearly the one who is better than who's in a place that's more ready than Gittins and Garnacho.
Interesting. I have a couple other wingers that if I didn't ask about, I feel like I'll be doing an injustice. So one of them's Liao, another one's Barcola, and another one's Yildiz. What do you think for Maresca teams? Like, how do you think these lot would fare? Probably starting with Liao, because I know he's probably the most controversial one because everyone calls him lazy.
Oh, Leao. I am getting my Milan notes out because I did watch him earlier in the season. This is when he was under Paulo Fonseca. I am stalling to read. I am reading it now just to make sure. So my complaints on him were that he needs to look up more. So similar to Gittins. He didn't do much out of possession. His pressing wasn't particularly great. But I also think as well, this was partly a tactic. He's just left forward in counter attacks because he'll be able to lead him down the line. So I wouldn't say it's just laziness, but it's definitely an area of his game he could improve at. Parts of his game that's good, like cutting inside and taking the ball in, carrying it past people. He's great at that. I think the shooting was a bit erratic. So Leao's interesting. That is off watching Milan, not watching him individually as a player. He's probably at least on the Nico Williams level, right? I'm not saying Nico Williams is perfect for Chelsea, but these guys are clearly on a different level to prospects like Gittins. You mentioned someone between him and Yildiz. Who was the other one?
Barcola.
Oh, Barcola. Well, he's great, but you're never getting him. I'm just going to put out. Tottenham fans, for whatever reason, are thinking they're getting him as well, and it's quite funny to see, to be honest. He just because he isn't starting at PSG, I just can't see him leaving. But yeah, he's brilliant. I absolutely love Bradley Barcola, but I will not get his hopes up on him. Yildiz, that's a fun one. I mean, he's been. I'm not sure his goal scoring numbers. I don't think they're that high. The insight I'll offer to him is he's had to play the majority of the season under Thiago Motta. Thiago Motta, I like him. I liked his Bologna side. His Juventus side, were terrible going forward, is the best way to put it. Just whatever game you can think of Chelsea this season where they had literally no ideas against a low block, just think that every game for Juventus. But they did have one idea. It was give it to Kenan Yildiz, and he was like the team basically. So I've seen like Yildiz score some like ridiculous goals. I've seen him like take players on in like great ways. I think he probably is worth looking at more closely, and whatever it says on the surface about him, I'm willing to completely write off as Thiago Motta sufferable.
Interesting. I see a lot of people are asking about Morgan Rogers in the chat. So just to ensure that everyone's appeased. What do you think about Chelsea being linked to Morgan Rogers a lot on the left wing? Now I have an issue with what I like to call positionless players. I absolutely despise positionless players, guys who, if you ask 5 people what is their best position, you're gonna hear about 10 different positions. I've heard 10, I've heard 8, I've heard left wing. What do you think about Morgan Rogers, and how do you think he would fit into like a Maresca type team?
I think he's really fun. I think he's had a good season at Villa. I mean, my main concern is that this is going to go down so badly in chat. I'm not saying he's as good, but in profile, he's basically Cole Palmer, right? Like left-footed number 10 who comes in off the right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so like he's really good, but I don't understand where you play him at Chelsea.
Oh, there you lot have it. There you lot have it. I see. I think someone else said Barcola or Williams. I think they're asking the question: who do you think's better out of Barcola or Williams?
Oh, I'm a bit biased just because I love Bradley Barcola, but I'd still go with him, man. Barcola is so much fun. Maybe he's, to be fair, Barcola in Liga, I think the league tends to be a bit more transitional, I'd say, and so he might have a bit more space to exploit generally. Whereas in La Liga, teams tend to be a bit more stodgy. So I might like Barcola more, but maybe Pius, I can't be having that. Barcola can't finish. Nah, I can't be having that. He's great at finishing. Maybe I'm just being biased, but I think maybe Williams genuinely might adapt better to a team like Chelsea, just because he's probably used to playing against below blocks all the time, whereas Barcola might not be as suited to that.
I mean, would that not? Sure, but from what I've seen of PSG this season, like especially in the Luis Enrique side, like do they not dominate the ball most games?
Yeah, they do dominate the ball, but I think in Liga you tend to get Liga is obviously a younger league, right? It was the youngest league in Europe, and I think with PSG they're more likely to be pressed and quite high at the pitch, and I think the games can just be a bit more transitional. Whereas when I watch La Liga, it's just a bit more like teams aren't going to press as high. Teams generally, La Liga is I think the oldest league in Europe now, ahead of Serie A. So I just think there's fewer opportunities to get a space in behind, and I think that's kind of shown in how Enrique's used Barcola, right? Because in the Champions League, he's put Doué on the team, Doué on the starting 11. That is partly because Kvaratskhelia arrived, but Barcola can play on both on left and right. However, he's tended to use Barcola as like a substitute, and I don't think that's necessarily that much of a dig on him, but he tends to use Barcola when PSG are defending a lead, the opposition are trying to come forward, because Barcola is an absolute menace in transition. Like he can carry it like 50, 60 yards at top speed and finish. So I think that might be why that's where Barcola's strengths lie.
Interesting.
There's a few people in the chat who've asked about because you did a video I think like 4 or 5 months ago on Malik Fofana. I've seen his name brought up a couple times. I think a few people just want like a follow up in terms of how you think he'd fit in. And if you're still of the same belief you did have 5 months ago.
Yeah, I still have that same belief. Sorry, that was very loud. Yes, I still have that same belief. He missed a bit of the season through injury, I think, and he only started coming back in now. So I haven't actually got that much to update on him. But yeah, for anyone who wasn't aware, Fofana is a left winger at Lyon, Belgian winger. Like very young, again, someone who's good on both feet. And yeah, I pitched him to Chelsea in a sensible transfers video. I'm trying to remember my weaknesses. I think he just needed to improve at finishing, but I didn't have like big red flags in the way I had about, for example, Ekitike. He just felt like a very well-rounded player who maybe wasn't the strongest, but a really, really good dribbler, and that's why I really liked him. I felt like he could do well in a Maresca team.
Interesting. I think my final question on attack would probably be then. So out of all the wingers that we've spoken about today, if you had to pick two to sign for Chelsea based on what Maresca likes from his wingers, who would the two wingers be?
Oh my word, that's a good question. I'm cheating and going to my wingers shortlist just to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Okay, so it probably would be left winger, right? Who you'd need. In which case, I think I'd be tempted to go Nico Williams. Even though the goal and assist output isn't there, just because of what I said, that 2-footed quality, and I think he could do really, really good at Chelsea. And he's still very young as well. Like, how old is he?
20, I think 22, turning 23.
Yeah, about that age. So, yeah, 22, turning 23 in July. So, I'll probably go Nico Williams as one, and then Malik Fofana maybe as the other. He's 19, so like more of a project option, I guess, which I know you guys absolutely love. Chelsea love project options, and the fans love them as well. But if you've got Nico Williams there, then who cares?
Interesting. Darts, you got anything else you want to say on attackers before potentially move to midfield or anything?
I think Alex covered attack as well. I also wanted to get Alex's view in regards to the goalkeeping situation. It's Alex is a bit of a problem for us. We've been suffering as a fan base for the last 2 to 3 years in terms of goalkeepers. And what are your thoughts on the market right now, and who could possibly be the best option to come in and help Maresca achieve his targets next season?
So I don't really get the complaints. Chelsea have actually a really good goalkeeper, and he's kept like a lot of clean sheets in Liga and this season. Like I think he's had a lot of praise. It is obviously a shame he's not playing at
You
Chelsea.
caught everyone off guard then. They thought you were talking about
I
Sanchez.
thought you were talking about Sanchez.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Sanchez. I was gonna say, what are you smoking, bro?
I had to do it to everyone. Yeah, obviously I'm not talking about Robert Sanchez. My word, him and Areola have the worst distribution in the league. I don't know what you guys would do with goalkeepers. It's really funny, especially since Petrovic. You can date my tweets, by the way, like across the season. Midway through, everyone's getting hyped about him, and I was like, he's been good, but I'm still not sure how well he'd do like in the Premier League under pressure. I've watched him more in the second half of the season. I'm now like convinced if you'd kept him, you'd be in a much, much better position. Like he's done so well in Liga, like not just shot stopping wise, but on the ball. Like if anyone actually watches Strasbourg, you'll see he comes out of his penalty area, joins the back line during build up, and will spray passes around. Can you imagine Robert Sanchez doing that? He's too terrified to come out of the 6-yard box. How would you solve the situation? Bring back Jorrel Petrovic. If not, I don't know, because you've got loads of other goalkeepers. I get Bluco like signing lots of youngsters. Signing so many young goalkeepers just feels like such a thin strategy. I don't really understand it.
Wait, Alex, just one more thing on Petrovic, because I've seen like a lot of I'm very much a numbers guy, and not in the way I view football, but is in terms of like how my brain works. So there are a lot of charts and metrics and graphs which show Petrovic is always in the top right corner, and guys are like, oh, he's so good, bring him back. How much can we read into his last stint in the Premier League where it really didn't go well, and how confident are you that he won't not regress quite to that level, but he might he could be flattering to deceive in Liga?
I think that's a really good point, and I'd say that's a good time for me to apologise to Gianluigi Donnarumma, and I think he's a really good example of why, like you said, you can look at factual proof of him not being great at Chelsea or like last season, and see that when a goalkeeper gets confidence, that they can really turn it around. Donnarumma is like, I'm using Donnarumma as an example because for the past 18 months, if we go back 6 months ago, for the 18 months before that, Donnarumma was the most overrated goalkeeper in Europe, in my opinion. Like he was consistently making errors, like in terms of shot stopping, and he was I'm trying to think of a fair word. He was not good on the ball. Let's put it like that.
He was a disgrace. I'm gonna be honest with you. He was a disgrace. He's improved a lot.
Yeah, he's improved massively, and it's not just terms of. To be fair, I think some of it is down to technique. Like, I think he's just genuinely got better at distributing the ball, but confidence-wise, that man is completely different. I think it goes to show that Petrovic, he's had a really good season. I feel like he'd be a different player if you brought him back to Chelsea. Like, that confidence riding with him, I reckon he'd be okay.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I was just because when people have said like bring him back and stuff, obviously like just my opinion. If people in the chat or on stage disagree, that's no problem. But I just remember watching him like for us under Pochettino, and trust me, I hate Poch more than anyone, but I couldn't even blame him for this because I just thought he just was not good, and I think I've just got a bit of PTSD from his first stint where it's like I don't want him to come back. Everyone thinks he's going to be our savior, and then like 6 months into the season or 3 months into the season, we're just like, oh, like, what do we do? Like, should we drop him? Should we bring back Sanchez? Or would Sanchez lose confidence because he's no longer number one? Blah, blah, blah. Like, so I think it's just a bit of PTSD from his first stint where, like, he was not great. So I think for me to sort of be fully sure, I'd probably need another season. But if you look at the goalkeepers on the books, he's probably best suited to be our number one.
Yeah, I think that's really good. It's a good point on him, and like it is worth like exercising caution. And I was going to say sorry that it's also good to exercise caution when people are like, "Oh, bring this guy back." Like this alone is the guy to transform our club. If anyone's trying to make content out there, you can get 1 million views a year by targeting top 6 clubs and going, if they bring back this guy from loan, he'll solve all of their problems. And I'm trying to be the last person to do that. In this case, as you say, you could probably sign a goalkeeper out there who is better than Petrovic. But if you just want to go with your current options, I think Petrovic is by far and away the best goalkeeper on Chelsea's books.
Yeah, so.
Is there a situation, where I feel like the problem is that a lot Petrovic and these guys, these are in the goalkeeper sense, these are young goalkeepers, right? The problem is we're so quick to. I'm not saying he's going to be great or whatever, but we're so quick after one bad season to bin these guys off and not giving them any chance to grow. If you get what I mean, like it's kind of rare, or there's an anomaly of keepers like David De Gea, Donnarumma, I think Thibaut Courtois, where they're amazing from 17, 18 years old, where majority goalkeepers are good from when they hit like 25, 26. I don't know. I feel like sometimes we're not even giving these guys a chance to grow. We just expect them to be amazing, top class, straight out the packet. I just feel like that way anyway. But yeah, you man continue.
I think that's fair. Like this goes back to what I was saying before. I get Chelsea's strategy in terms of buying youth like across the starting 11. Goalkeeper is the one position that just doesn't make sense. Like on Chelsea's books, they've got Robert Sanchez, Philip Jorgensen, Mike Penders, Lucas Bergstrom, Marcus Bettinelli, and Jord Petrovic coming back from loan. Like that's obscene. There's one position on the pitch a goalkeeper can play, and a goalkeeper tends to play the most games in a season. So why have they got so many? Yeah. And like you said, basically all these guys are young. Like Sanchez is 27. He could arguably be getting into his peak, whatever that looks like. So it's like, yeah, it's this is the most nonsensical part for me of Chelsea's strategy.
There is no strategy because we're changing. Okay, if we change goalkeepers, we change Sanchez, and we go with someone else next season. That's what the third goalkeeper in 3 years. So there's no consistency there. And there's a problem is as well. They're bringing in young goalkeepers, so you're not even giving any of them time to necessarily grow. What they got to do is they got to pick someone who they feels good enough, and they've got to stick with that person through thick and thin. It's as simple as that. Like we can't keep changing a goalkeeper every season and expecting and buying them young and expecting them to be amazing. It's not going to happen. And maybe you might hit the jackpot once or twice, but these are the De Gea's, Courtois, and Donnarummas are anomalies. They're just rare. You don't get goalkeepers that good that young. Like it's just doesn't happen, innit?
Yeah, and as well, like so seriously, we're always saying that you got PTSD of Petrovic, that's fair enough. But like goalkeeper also is a position where you remember the mistakes because it's such a horrible position to play in. Like I play goalkeeper and I absolutely despise it when I'm having a bad game. and have a full on crash out, right? You think like can you think of barring Timio Bakayoko, can you think of like an outfielder you've sent on loan or someone like that, like an outfield Chelsea player? How many you can think of who've gone, oh, even though he's done really well abroad, I wouldn't have him back because I just remember all of these bad moments. Like you just don't remember it as clearly as you would do with a goalkeeper.
I'm thinking maybe the guys in the chat might. No, Disassi doesn't get that guy's awful. No way, no way.
Yeah, but Disassi doesn't count because he hasn't done particularly well at Villa.
Exactly.
I can't think of anyone personally.
Yeah, it's just true.
I can't think of anyone.
I can't think of anyone.
Nice.
Yeah,
I
that's a
can't
good
think
point.
of anyone. And also, Alex, your thoughts on, they call him Baby Timber, Mr. Hato at Ajax.
Baby Timber. Oh,
Baby Timber.
That's his new name now. You don't know, you guys.
goodness
You lot been seeing.
gracious
It's
me.
Baby Timber. What's your thoughts on him, Alex? And obviously there are reports in regards to Chelsea looking at him and potentially getting him in. And I don't know if you've kept up to him this season. Obviously very talented. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I scouted him in January, and I don't think I like a move to Chelsea at this moment.
Thank you.
What I want to see from so we talked about earlier the whole way we're talking about how players can improve, what can they improve at. Hato's got a weakness which I think is going to be really hard to overcome. He's just so reliant on his left foot, and I think if you play him as a third centre back at Chelsea, that's probably okay because you don't necessarily need to be great on your right foot to play as a centre back. If you play as a full back, even more fine because you're very rarely going to be passing your right. But at Chelsea, Maresca wants his quote unquote fullbacks to be flexible, instead of backs to be flexible, like potentially to go in midfield and to be very good on the ball. You cannot play Jorrel Hato as an inverted fullback at the moment, in my opinion, because he's just so left-footed. And what I mean by that is, what you want from a midfielder is someone who's just got completely open angles, someone who can receive the ball, pass out wide of his right foot, pass out wide of his left foot. Hato consistently limits his passing range because he's doing everything on his left foot, and he's played inside for Ajax. And then I think, as the season went on, Farioli started pushing him more wide just to try and get around this issue. So yeah, I think Hato's fun. I do have concerns as well how he's going to grow because he's not viewed as physical enough to play as a centre back.
Yeah.
So is he going to be a left back? Yeah, he's one to wait and see at the moment.
I'm happy you mentioned kind of his over reliance on his left foot because I think as we're talking about the defense, it comes into one of the other players that Chelsea are targeting in central defense. To be fair, so as Chelsea looking at defenders. We need another centre back outside of Colwill and Fofana. I think the rest of them are a bit. You can have conversations on all of them. Badiashile, Trev, who to be fair to him, when he came back, he did well. Tosin, I wasn't the biggest fan, but towards the end he did well. And one of the centre backs Chelsea are looking at is for right centre back, which intrigues me, is Branthwaite. Now, I don't like left-footed players, like two left-footed centre backs together. I think that's absolutely awful for passing angles. I always remember the game last season, Spurs, when Badiashile played right centre back, and Spurs pressed the living life out of him because the angles at right centre back for a left footer are just ridiculous. Now, people always say Branthwaite's two-footed, but how two-footed is he to be able to play right centre back? Because a lot of people will say, "Oh, what's the issue with playing two left-footed centre backs? You can play two right-footed centre backs." But I think it's a bit different. Like the angles for them they always seem a bit more comfortable than when it's two left-footers. But what do you think about Branthwaite in general and the idea of playing him right centre back?
Wait, quickly, shelves, yeah? Quickly. I think Badiashile, he struggled the same way playing on the left against Newcastle in the League Cup against their press. I don't think the issue was necessarily down to him playing the right. I think he's He's just who he is. So yeah, but yeah, Alex, you can go.
It's just who he is. That's it's the kindest way of saying Badia's show is just bad. Which I might not disagree with so much. Branthwaite, thank you for interrupting there though, because that gave me the time to read my notes and check FBref to update them. Because I looked at Branthwaite last season when I scouted him, and so my concerns back then were I thought he was a good defender but pretty bad in possession. I thought his passing was quite overrated. Like the weight of passes pretty inconsistent. He had nice vision, but like for long passes, not so much short passes. And I hated his ball carrying, or more specifically, his lack of it. So you could go back to his time at PSV when he's on loan there. What you want from your centre backs, right, especially when you're trying to squeeze teams in, is for them to recognise space, carry into it, draw one of the opponents out of position, and then that centre back's got the ability to pass and move it on. Whereas Branthwaite would just like receive the ball halfway line, no one's around him, pass it back sideways, and it's so frustrating to watch. I've not kept up with him as much as this year, but his pass accuracy has improved, both short range and long range, so that's good. So maybe a sign that it is improving. In terms of ball carrying, and to be fair, it is an Everton side, so we're not like expecting too much. But that has improved quite significantly as well. For context, he was at 0.06 progressive carries per 90, which is like, so he was at 0.
Yeah.
He was getting the ball and not moving. That's what he was doing. He was playing handball. But now he's at 0.36. So sometimes he's moving. So it's a sign of improvement. So yeah, right. In terms of the ankles, though, sorry, to get back to your actual question, I didn't know he was pretty good on his right foot. But yeah, I always think it's a bit of a risk to play a left-footed centre-back at right centre-back, and likewise a right-footer at left centre-back, because it just means it's a position your opponents can target when pressing. So if you can get around it, it's good. If Chelsea feel that Branthwaite is such a good defender and he's good enough on the ball that it's worth the trade-off, then fine.
Do you have any concerns about his actual defending ability?
I didn't have many last year. To be fair as well, like I always find this really, really hard to judge. I was just writing it down earlier for that Mora report I was talking about, because I know you can show me a clip of someone defending, and you can show two people a clip of someone defending, and one of them might walk away and say this defender did really poorly, and someone else might walk away and say, yeah, but the team's badly coached, so they should have defended better. I think I was the main thing with Branthwaite I was impressed by was his physicality. And at the moment, I think this will improve as I improve as like an analyst. I'm still like really young at this, right? But at the moment, my outlook on young centre-backs is, are they making big errors? Yes or no? And if no, have they got the physical capacity to to go to the top level? And I just kind of, where I'm at is like, I feel like a coach can make up a lot of ground in terms of like managing a defensive line and decision making, etc. As long as it's not starting from such a bad point, you should be okay. This is a reason why I don't know if he'll get brought up. I'm not keen on Piero Hincapié. He's improved at his like defensive ability, but physically, I just think he'll never be good enough to play as like a back two centre back. So no matter how much hype gets put around him, I've just written him off. Like, because I just don't think he'll ever, unless you're playing a back three, I just don't think you can play him as a centre back.
That's interesting, because a lot of people rate him as well. A lot of people rate him. I think at one point I used to look at him and think, I think we'll sign him. Okay, that's interesting. Well, moving away from Branthwaite then, there's also other centre backs. So we have
Don't forget Roy's
Zabani.
nephew, please. Don't
Who?
forget
Oh
Roy's
yeah,
nephew.
don't worry. We're going
Oh.
to talk about him. So
Yo, who's my nephew? Who's my nephew?
Mr.
Diomande, of course.
Why we don't hear his name no more?
Diomande, of course.
But he's good talent, but I don't know what's going on with him. Honestly, I haven't seen anything on him.
Actually, yeah, Alex, what are your thoughts on Diomande? Because I know at one point guys thought guys were calling him the next Saliba. And I feel like from him being called the next Saliba to now, it's like he's had all the hype and then it's just gone. It's gone. So yeah, what do you think about him?
This Ousmane Diomande at Sporting, right?
Yeah.
I honestly, I've not watched enough of him to say sorry. I've watched Sporting tactically, but I've not got the strongest idea on how Diomande is. So I'll let you guys battle away on that one.
That's Roy's. That's Roy's
Well, he's
centre
gonna have
back.
to
So
explain. I think he's a
Personally,
good talent. I don't think he's bad.
I still think he's a really good talent. He might be a bit more raw than I thought, because I did think the games I watched of him last season, I thought he was great. But this season, I don't know if it's just coincidence, and this is the same with Mamadou Sarr as well. Whenever I tune in to watch them, and it might not even be to watch them, it might just be to watch the team because they're on TV. But he's always making an error leading to a goal, and even with Sarr, who I rate highly, like he's given away a few penalties this season and given away he's had a few clown moments, with all due
maybe
respect.
Konate.
So I think maybe he's a little bit more raw than I thought, but I still do think he's a very talented centre back. And honestly, if Fofana can keep fit, I would take him, but I think we probably need a more reliable and ready option.
Yeah, I don't know who else. At one point, I was screaming Zabani because I think he's better than Hoyson, but I don't know. It depends on the profile. What, Alex? Have you had some time to watch Zabani?
Yeah, I was watching him like when he's at Kiev. I always really liked him, to be honest, and have liked him this season. That is just an all-round defender, and like physically, I think he's done pretty well. I think he's kind of like a. You remember Oshumeni was in Monaco and getting a ton of hype. Yusuf Fofana was doing really well alongside him and just got none of that. I feel like Zabani's had that with Dean Huijsen. Dean Huijsen's stolen all of the hype, when Zabani's also had like a really nice season.
Yeah, I think he's been really good, but I just think maybe Huijsen he's probably better on the ball than him. Obviously, probably
I thought Zabani had a lot of hype up until January, but then it just disappeared, and it was all about Hodgson when everybody realised that he had a release clause. I don't know. I thought I heard there was a lot of noise around Zabani back up until January, if you don't remember.
Yeah, I agree. I think like a lot of people think, oh, like he's a really good centre back, and I think Huijsen did start performing a lot better as well. And then once you add like being called up to the Spanish team, and like I feel like once the rumours of clubs being linked with him started, everybody was after him, and then before you know it, Real Madrid do what they do, and they just come and poach him from the rest of us.
It'll be interesting to see how he does.
Just one more centre back. Have you watched Mosquera at Valencia, Alex?
Yes, I have.
What do you think of him? Did you do a myth busting on him?
I did indeed, and I won't read off it now because I've done that quite a bit during this. But I was speaking about him the other day. I think he's rumored to go to Leipzig. I saw that makes sense. He's got the Hincapie thing for me at the moment. He's tall. Well, actually, no, he's taller than Hincapie. He's 6'2", so there's more scope there. But at the moment, he's so weak in the air that you sign him for the Premier League, it's going to go badly, very badly, I think. So he's definitely
interesting.
One to watch.
Roy,
no.
No,
because
hold
on.
You know, but he's looked good when I've watched him, though.
Hold on. Personally, I think he's a really good prospect. In terms of the weak in the air part, is that the physical side or maybe like the timing of his jumping?
Good question.
Because I think Saliba's not great in the air, but I think his issue is with the timing of his jumps. I think he tends to mistime it, so he loses a lot of aerial duels that he probably should win. But so where do you think it's more of a physical side or the timing side?
What did I write down? Let me see. I have a feeling you're onto that because I doubt I would have been that critical of physicality for someone who's 6'2", but maybe I was, to be fair. And I will say, like, to fill the air while I find this, he has got a 44% win rate. So like, it is that's why I'm like, oh, it could go very badly in the Prem.
Yeah, of course.
At the time I wrote on him, he had a 41% aerial win rate. What I said was he struggles to unsettle opponents and to jump above them. So he does need to develop physically, and as well, I think he's quite poor at like judging the flight path of the ball. So that's also what you're saying too. I think like this is something that was critical of Voltmada when I was writing about it the other day. It's just like the ability to exert your physicality. I'll be interested to see where Mosquera comes from and like how quickly he grew up. This sounds like a weird tangent, but I think it'll be interesting. So Nico Voltmada, he's 6'5". You'd think he'd be a demon in the air, right? But he's got a 44% win rate. And when you watch him, it's clear he just gets away with being tall and has probably got away with being tall throughout his development. So has never learned to like use his body. Like in a way, Lautaro Martinez is more effective at hold-up play at times than Voltmar, despite being almost half his size, right? So I wonder if like Mosquera has had that because he's quite clearly tall. Maybe he had a growth spurt when he was young, like was able to just get away with like dominating physically. And in La Liga, when I was watching him, it's just like he's just not able to dominate as well anymore. But yeah, he's so young, and I'd agree with you as well. I don't mean to dump on and your hype. Like I think I did come away like this is a very good prospect, but just would be terrified of him as a centre back in the Prem.
Yeah, that's fair.
Don't worry. Roy does this with a lot of players. We're not gonna say what he called Modric. Anyways, I see because I keep seeing his name now. This player, I honestly, I don't think I've watched. I don't think I've watched 5 games, so I can't talk on him. But everyone seems to love Nathan Collins for whatever, I don't know what it is. Yeah, everyone loves him. So I'm gonna ask you, Alex, what is it about Nathan Collins that everyone seems to love?
Oh my god, I'm being put to the test today. This is fun. Nathan Collins of Bournemouth, yeah. Brentford.
Brentford, yeah.
I think it's just his physicality, and I've not watched much of him either. I've watched a little bit. And I know he's like very, very good in the air. And he's got like quite decent Premier League experience as well because he was playing at Wolves before he went to Brentford. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Brentford have actually been quite bad defensively in the league, but it's also because their defenders have like zero protection. But maybe people just love the fact that he's like a very physical guy, and it's like what I was saying earlier. If you bring that physicality, pull it into a better defense, maybe he like really shines.
No, that is very fair. That is very fair. Because yeah, everyone, every time it's like, oh yeah, sign Nathan. I'm like, I don't. Another name I've seen that whenever I see it, I question because I watch this team religiously for about 2 years. So I don't know why I always see his name is Van Hecke. I don't understand why people like Van Hecke. Me personally, outside of him being good on the ball, I think he's an awful defender. But that's just that's just me.
You talk about Van Hecke.
Yeah, I don't rate him, but everyone seems to love him. I'm like, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing? Like, who's another one? Max
Good.
Sense
That
Lacroix.
striker. That's a
Yes.
good one.
Who? Yeah, Max. Yeah, what for
That
Crystal
what's the
Palace?
Atlanta striker? What's his name again?
Retegui.
Oh,
Retegui.
Retegui.
Yes. Right, is that your nephew as well?
No.
To be fair, that's Cinco's nephew. He keeps
Yeah.
telling me.
I need to know about this guy. I
He keeps
need the
telling me.
honest truth. I need the honest truth about this guy. I don't know, Alex, if you
2025
followed him.
Skamaka.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't trust any striker whose first good season is when he's turned 26 and he's been playing in the French league. No, he's been playing in Argentina until he was 24. I can't trust you. I'm sorry. But again, Alex, maybe you've watched him. Maybe you might have something on Retegui. But yeah, I can't trust any striker like that.
No, he's on my list to watch. So I will have something out on him probably in like a month's time. But yeah, everyone has been asking me to watch him, and I also have. It's wrong to have, but I have that same conception as you of. He seems a bit fishy, like he's just suddenly become scoring goals
Yeah,
at
I
this
think
late
there's
age.
late bloomer and is he really this good?
Yeah, especially at Atalanta where everyone's kind of supercharged. But like maybe watch him and I may come away like, oh, this guy's fantastic. So I'm not gonna write him off.
Actually, so I know you said you haven't watched Retegui much, but speaking of Atalanta, how do you think Lookman would fare playing on the left for us?
Oh, I might have something on this soon actually. I might be doing a video on like where's the best club for Lookman because I really like him. I feel like on the left I think he's a very good dribbler, so I could see him doing a job on the left. The only concern I'd have is he's done so well at Atalanta as one of these like floating tens or like thriving in central spaces, right? He's
Yeah.
like the reverse of Ekitike. I like Ekitike when he's playing out wide. For Chelsea, probably play down the middle. I like Lookman when he's playing down the middle. For Chelsea, probably play out wide. So yeah, it's something to look into. But I may have a video on this soon.
Okay, fair. What else was on the agenda, Darko?
What is he? Wait, have you man spoken about Gyokeres?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we covered him.
Oh, I
Touched
missed
on
that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna
Gyokeres.
have
You're
to
touching on
rewind.
strikers.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to rewind. I just
Yeah.
wanted to know how he felt about how Gyokeres. Like, I don't know. Personally, when I watch him, I'm just not moved. Especially, he scores a lot of goals. So normally, a guy that's scoring that many goals, you should be moved a bit. I'm just not moved. I don't know. There's something that's just not moving me there. I don't know.
With all due respect to him, because he is clearly a top striker, it just seems like a bit of a Ponzi scheme. Like, it just seems as if, like, the club who invest, they're gonna think he's a savior, and then it just doesn't turn out that way. And that's why I'm just a bit. It's just a bad gut feeling, personally. Like, I don't think he's a bad player. I just think it's a gut feeling that it's just, yeah, it just won't be a success for us. But Doctor, I'll let you bring up the next point to discuss.
Oh, just to close things. Shelves, there was one guy you mentioned. I can't even remember.
What position?
I think it was centre back.
Oh, Crystal Palace. Makes sense. I can never pronounce his fine. Is
Lacroix. Is it Lacroix?
Yeah.
Lacroix.
Lacroix. Yeah. What is your honest thoughts on Lacroix, Alex, and the season he's had this season? And to wrap things up, I want to also ask you your thoughts on Cole Palmer's position under Maresca.
Two very different questions. That was fun. Lacroix, I think, has had a good season. He's a good centre back. He is absolutely rapid, and that is like his biggest trait. I'm not sure how I'd feel about him going to like a team like Chelsea. I think he's at like the perfect level at Crystal Palace, like aspiring Europa League team now. So I like Lacroix. I will sneak in as well. I know there's talk about Van Hecke before. I have similar concerns over Van Hecke, like defensively, just mainly his physicality. But I get the hype on him because he's so good on the ball. Like really, like one of the best defenders on the ball, I think, of the Premier League. But I can understand why that's outweighed people by lack of physicality. I remember Mateta bullying him, and that's why I was reminded of it. Because talk about Lacroix, Cole Palmer's position. Yeah, this is a fun one. So I like him on the right, cutting inside on his left. Why I think that hasn't worked often at Chelsea is because you have Madueke out there, and I know Madueke and Palmer linked up on paper quite well, like in terms of assisting each other. But maybe it's just me. I don't like having two left footers on the right. So something I'm just stealing words here from John McKenzie, right? But something he did a video earlier in the year on this of the idea of if you don't have a two-footed winger, a two-way winger, someone could go on the inside and outside, you can recreate them in the aggregate, nerdy speak. Have like a right-footed touchline hugging winger like Brennan Johnson, and have Kulusevski as like the left-footed cutting inside midfielder. And what you have at Chelsea is you have Madueke who wants to cut inside, hit the edge of the box. You have Palmer who wants to cut inside and be on the edge of the box. And sometimes I think Madueke is very good at like attracting defenders, sucking them in, and creating space for Palmer. But in order for both Palmer and Madueke to like contribute to goals, they kind of have to invade each other's space. So I think that's why I've issues with Palmer on the right. On the left, I just don't particularly like him there because I just think you're limiting his ability to shoot from range. And I think he's good on the left in transitional moments when he's running through and able to shoot across goal. But against a low block, I don't particularly like him there, especially when you haven't got a box threat. Maybe you had a box threat, Palmer could be chipping crosses into the box, like if you have Liam Delap up front. But at the moment, I just don't think you get enough advantage on like having Palmer on the left.
Okay. And just these two last questions from me, Alex. Your thoughts on Michael Olise's season at Bayern Munich? You know, I don't think he gets enough. I don't think he gets enough credit in terms of the league. I think the league is,
Oh,
you
you're
know,
mocking him,
ruining
man.
his
You're
PR. Yeah,
mocking him.
I think he deserves more from the season that he's had. And are there any players that we should keep a lookout on for regards to next season that you've been monitoring?
Yeah, Elise. I mean, don't much to say. I echo you. He's been brilliant. I wholeheartedly agree. Players to look out for this season. I want to pick two that I think will be really good. So Georgia Mikatadze at Lyon.
Baller. My boy.
I absolutely love him. And Cherky steals all the hype at Lyon. Mikatadze is fantastic and he'll have his day in the spotlight. And the other guy, I'm just going to keep singing the bell of him, is Alexandre Ribeiro at Lille. Like this 2 foot. So just a fun story, right? Ribeiro, I was watching him doing a sensible transfers video.
Yeah.
And I was like, on paper, SofaScore had him as left-footed, Transfer Martin was right-footed. I was like, what foot is he then? And in 2 different games, he averaged, like in one game he averaged more passes with his left foot. The other game, it was with his right foot. So just ridiculously good on both feet. Also, like had one of the highest error win rates in Europe for a while, and just like a very fast defender as well. He's like 25, going 26, I think. So he's coming into the peak age of a centre back. But I'm pretty sure he's going to go to a big club and do well.
Okay.
Alex, can I just ask one more question? Which I think a lot of Chelsea fans have debated a lot this season. Do you think where we're playing Enzo Fernandez is getting the best out of him, or not just numbers wise? I'm talking about performances.
Ooh. I think it's getting more out of him than Pochettino, but maybe I could have got more out of Enzo Fernandez than Mauricio Pochettino. It's difficult because, like, if you're going to play him in the base of midfield, then you have rest defense concerns.
Yeah, that was one of my concerns as well.
I think Enzo Fernandez is one, again, where you'll see thrive with better attackers, like better runners in behind and a more physical presence in the box like Delap. I think you'll start to see the numbers soar.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so I guess like jury's out on that. I don't think, like, basically, I don't look at Chelsea going forward and go, Enzo Fernandez position, that's the problem.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, like if you use him deep, then you can sort of exploit his passing, but then obviously off the ball that leaves concerns, and then up front, well, not up front, but in that sort of left half space where he's operated a lot more this season. Like even though his numbers have been good, people have been saying, oh, like we need like a proper attacker there. Like he's not great in tight spaces, blah blah blah. So I guess it's sort of like you get numbers out of one, but you get passing out of the other. So, but I personally think Maresca's definitely platformed him a lot better than Pochettino has. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm also interested to see what his role is going to be like next season if we're able to keep Romeo Lavia fit, because I think he's a huge asset to our midfield and build up when he does play. And Caicedo practically has to play. So what does that really do for Enzo Fernandez? And then obviously there's Andre Santos as well, which has been mentioned in the chat.
That's a
If
great
he
question.
comes in and hits the ground running, like will he be able to lock down a starting spot? So like, do you see sort of I don't want to say bench, but do you see Enzo perhaps his role diminishing next season if number one, Lavia can stay fit, and number two, if Andre Santos hits the ground running and sort of keeps up his performance levels from France where he was fantastic?
Yeah, I really like Andre Santos, but I think Chelsea have got a diamond in him. So yeah, which does make Enzo Fernandez's position the least tenable maybe in that midfield. Like you say, like Palmer's not getting dropped, Caicedo's not getting dropped. If Lavia comes in, he's probably starting. Maybe it will be a case of Santos and Enzo Fernandez. I think maybe against weaker sides, you can get away with a Caicedo, Santos, Enzo Fernandez, Palmer midfield. And against top teams, maybe you have to alternate between Santos and Fernandez and having Lavia and Caicedo in the pivot. I mean, it is difficult, but ultimately, this is probably the area you can get most excited about as Chelsea fans, because you've got, like, arguably the best mid. Yeah, maybe you have an argument to say you've got the best midfield in the league at the moment.
Yeah,
I think one thing I want to ask, a couple people have asked in the chat as well. Let's say you are at the helm of Chelsea. I think most people think we need a winger, a centre half, a keeper, and then maybe another 9. Like, what would be the options? Like, who are your preferred choices for those positions?
How do I rebuild Chelsea, essentially? So goalkeeper, like we sell Robert Sanchez and bring back Petrovic / buy a new keeper. And goalkeeper market is not amazing at the moment, but you maybe do like Sevilla, Roma. I've heard good things about, but if not, I think Petrovic might be okay. Talk me through what was the other positions. They'll go to the next one. Sorry,
Centre half.
centre half. We'll go Ribeiro because I just shouted him out. Next one.
Wing, probably left winger.
Left wing.
Or both, in fact, to be fair. But yeah, let's say left winger to make it simple. That.
Right wing, we're keeping Noni Madueke. No, actually, it's fine. You've got Esteval Madueke, and I still believe in him, even though the chat's going to hate me. Left wing, we said Nico Williams earlier, but I'm trying to think of like a dream option for left wing. It is difficult because the more you do this, the more you realize there's no good players, bar like the elite ones you just cannot touch. So I had Nico Williams earlier, but I'm just checking other left wingers to see if I can like give you a fantasy option. We mentioned Barker earlier. I don't think he's leaving. I think he'd obviously be really fun. Just looking at the market, to be fair, and it really is a grim market. Like Alex Baena is the 12th most valuable left winger on Transfermarkt, and he's not even a left winger when you actually look at him. Honestly, yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what. Elise Bentagear, because he's like, I think, a future star. Well, not even a future star. He's arguably the current star, and he'll explode next season. So maybe him, but probably Rodrigo is also a good shout. People shouting about that. Rodrigo or Nico Williams.
Ooh. Wow. And Alex, just another one in regards to Coenda. You know, the chat is going crazy about Coenda. Is he the real deal? Is this young boy the real deal? Like, as I've been told. Because I'll be honest, I've not really seen too much of him.
Neither have I.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure about him.
No, neither have I. And
Yeah.
like, I would just copy and paste my Portuguese league concerns, but yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about him, but you know, I believe it when I see it. There's been a lot of players coming out of Sporting CP and moving to clubs that play in red and have not necessarily played well this season. So yeah, I'm a bit, I'm always a bit skeptical. But hey, might be a super talent.
Yeah, definitely. They asked about the the midfielder at Las Palmas, the one that's we signed from Sporting Lisbon. What's his name? Is it Asugo?
Yeah, I don't know him either.
You don't know him as well. Yeah. You see, I told you guys that Shinkaka. I told you guys, no one knows who he is. I told you, look, nobody knows who this guy is.
I'll look at him eventually, but I've got more relevant players to watch.
Listen, shin kickers are Chelsea heritage, bro. We love our shin kickers, bro.
Yeah. But I think, you know what? I think we've covered everything, to be honest.
I think the most important question, actually, which people may not like or may like you after this year, Alex, are you Maresca in or Maresca out?
You go Maresca in. What you sack him now? Like what
I'm just saying that there might be a couple speakers who might disagree with you. That's all I'll say.
Okay, I would say if you sack Maresca now, when the club's actually in a decent place, then who you were going to get in, like especially after that'll be your third summer in a row changing manager. But yeah, it's such a bad look. But also, it's what I said earlier. Like, I think you've got to give Maresca a benefit of doubt for this season. It was his first one. He said he spoke in preseason a lot about how he's going to improve Chelsea defensively. He wanted to change the way Chelsea press. I think you can say he absolutely did that. Chelsea are much better defensively, much better at controlling games. If we're sitting here next season and Chelsea's attack has shown no signs of improvement, I'd probably be Maresca out. But at the moment, I'm more like Maresca jury's out. Like, let's see how he gets on. I think he's done fine this season.
That's very fair. That's very fair. And also, Alex, in regards to Eze's season that he's had at Crystal Palace, I think you're a fan of Eze. I think I've seen you speak about him a few times. Do you believe that someone like him is good enough to play for Chelsea?
My voice is dying at the moment. Eze, yes, but you couldn't play him out wide. He's a midfielder in a 4-3-3 or a 10 in a 4-2-3-1. For me, like, he's not got the pace to play out wide, in my opinion. So yeah, as a third midfielder, but you probably already have too many midfielders, so I don't think he works at Chelsea.
Well, no, Alex, just one last question, because I'm probably where you got to go soon. This Jadon Sancho conundrum, what would you do?
Oh, great question, right?
Because I see what he offers, but I also see what he lacks. We have to pay 5 million if we don't want to keep him, and you can pay 25 million to buy him, which is potentially buy him and use him, or buy him and sell him, which I don't think is probably feasible. What would how do you think he sort of performed this season, and what would your decision be?
I think he's played fine this season, like across the board. He's had a lot of bad games, and I think he's had ones where he's like actually had a pretty decent impact and maybe went under the radar. That said, I don't think you sign him. I think if it was me, says you got Champions League money, I think you can afford to pay the 5 million not to keep him. Because there are better wingers out there for Chelsea. Like we've just seen him play at Chelsea this season. I think he's a good player still, but wasn't right for Chelsea. B, imagine how funny it'll be for Manchester United to try and deal with Jadon Sancho on top of all of their other problems.
My uncle don't need them issues, but it has to be done. It has to be done.
Yeah, that was the last thing I had, because I think now the season's done, and obviously everyone was saying, well, not everyone, but I saw a lot of people saying how, see how Sanchez performs in the final. So it's not Sanchez. Sancho performed in the final. Obviously, in the final, he scored, and everyone's like, "Oh, now we have to keep him." Like, "Oh, he's a baller, blah, but look how he curled it." Blah blah blah. So I just wanted to get your opinion, because personally, like, I just think if we had to pay like the same amount, or no, not the same amount. If you had to pay like 20 million if we didn't want to sign him, or something like that, then I could be like, you may as well just fund the extra 5 million and see what use you can get. But if it's just a 5 million fee, we got Champions League money. He helped us get top 4. He left with a trophy. I just think, part ways. Like, thank you for your service, and just sort of good luck in your future endeavors. I just think, and also, like, I know it's not remotely similar situations, but I would hate for this to be like an Aubameyang thing where he signs his contract and performances just tank, his head goes elsewhere, and then we practically can't get rid of him. So I just think the downsides, you may as well just pay the 5 million.
Yeah, in the same boat, I think.
Yeah. And Alex, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. Chat. Okay, chat. You got 3 questions before we let Alex go, because Alex has been here for a bit now and he's got things to do. So I'll give you 3 questions before we wrap things up.
Okay, when you ask the questions, let me help you. Do not ask about Kindred Pyres and do not know about Esteval. I do not spend my time watching these Brazilian randoms. Or Joel, I don't know who the guy is spamming. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah. Okay. I've seen one question. Cherky versus Cole Palmer. Who's better at 10?
Oh my god, that's a question.
Yep. You see, it's a good question. It's a very good question.
Ah! I lose either way here. As a number 10, Ryan Cherky, because that's the only position where Ryan Cherky can play in the Premier League.
I respect the honesty. Cole Palmer's still amazing, but it's just the truth. It's the truth. Okay, no, guys, ask some sensible questions. Like, come on, you got an opportunity. 2 more questions. Like, you're asking about Oshimila Jackson. Let's be serious now. You know what I mean? Let's be serious. You're just wasting questions.
Let me see if there's a good question here.
Someone's just asked Alex, any words on like Dylan Aquino and who?
I think they think you're an encyclopedia, bro. Like, they just think you know everything about every player.
Okay, that Monaco winger, Akiluchi, yeah.
Akliush, Magnus Akliush. Yeah, he's a scam as a winger. He's a really good 10. I was having to talk to a colleague about this the other day, JJ Ball. He was like, "Do you think Akliush could work as a right winger for Chelsea?" I was like, "Nope." He's not got the pace to play out wide. He's not a particularly productive dribbler. Competes about 1.2 per 90. Very nice coming inside. Very nice passer. So, I don't. He's another one where it's like doesn't work for Chelsea because left-footed right winger who comes inside. That's Cole Palmer basically.
Okay, Alex. My boy's gonna kill me if I don't ask you this because he's messaged me as well. What do you think of João Gomez?
Matrix.
Not Chelsea related, but he wants me to ask you.
Oh, the Wolves guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I really love him. He's always like my favorite player to watch at Wolves. Which
Top
is
player.
not a long list, but yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's on my list to deep dive because I just want to watch more of him.
Yeah.
Do you think he's better than Andre?
Oh,
I'll be honest, both of them kind of blur to one. I think they're
I get them mixed up all the time whenever I watch Wolves.
Yeah, they're both really press resistant, dribbly guys who are quite good at passing and good at covering large spaces. It's a nuts mid. The fact that midfield was almost getting relegated under Gary O'Neill is insane.
Yeah, Pereira saved their season because they really could have got relegated.
Pereira's done very well.
Yeah, he did really well.
I think you could argue Pereira's done what you would have expected from that Wolves squad, and Gary O'Neill was just tanking hard.
Yeah.
to be fair, yeah, I have one final question. Just one for me personally. Out of Works and Musiala, who are you picking?
Oh, it's tough. It's tough. I feel like this question changes every year.
Musiala.
Huh?
Ooh.
First.
Ooh. Elise Palmer.
Elise or Palmer?
Who you picking?
Oh my god. Elise.
Wow. Alex, you know why I asked you this question again? Because last summer you picked Palmer. So this season, something's changed.
Oh, there we go.
No, I think with top players, it tends to be an always season by season thing. Like one season it will be Palmer. Like, let's say Palmer goes back to his level last season, and Elise sort of stays the same. Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, well, Palmer scored 20 something goals. He got this many assists. Chelsea did this."
Yeah,
I feel like
he'll
it'll just go back and forth. And honestly, like as far as I'm concerned, they're two brilliant players. So if you tell me Michael Elise is better than Cole Palmer, personally, I disagree. But like that's totally valid. If you tell me Palmer's better than Elise, I think it's perfectly valid too. And also, sorry, Alex, I know you're very worried to go. Vincent Kompany, how would you assess the job he's done? Because I get slandered all the time for having Kompany stock since he was at Burnley. I said this guy's a good manager, and they look at the chat laughing. They know what they were like. I get ridiculed for rating him, and now he's sat here as a league title winner. He won Harry Kane's first trophy. How would you assess the job he's done
in Germany?
Listen, well, Tuchel didn't win the league last season, so it can't be that easy.
Wow, pressing Tuchel for Kompany. Wow.
I'm just pointing out a fact. But yeah, before you go, how would you assess Vincent Kompany's job?
I thought I was going to get through this without having to give a really unpopular answer. Like last year when you guys said, should I keep Madueke? And I said yes, and then the entire chat like demanded I die. So from what I can tell, you guys don't like Vincent Kompany, and you don't think he's done a good job.
I'm the only one who likes him.
No issue with him. No issue.
No, don't do that. Stop lying because Alex is here, bro.
We don't have an issue with him. We just think that you know what I'm saying, bro. You know what I'm saying. You go over the top. You go over the top.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, go on, Alex. Tell what do you think of him?
Champions League has been a bit mid. Won't lie. Like could have done significantly better in the Champions League.
Shelves, you see, we spoke about this. Yep.
The league has been one of the best Bayern Munich league seasons like since 2013. Like it may not be like in terms of goals, but you look at just in terms of I mentioned earlier, right? Chelsea try and squeeze opponents into their own box, and City have allowed fewer touches in their defensive half, right? Haven't got the numbers in front of me, but when I was looking at this earlier in the season, I did a Bayern Munich video, right? I think it was Barcelona. They allowed the second fewest touches inside their defensive half, which was about 80, right? So opponents getting 80 touches inside the final third, right? Yeah, that's not a lot. Bayern were on 50, which was the lowest on any statistical record. Basically, for most of the season when Bayern Munich played in the Bundesliga, they were just keeping teams pending their own goal. Like, they just were not getting out. And that was because Bayern were very solid in possession and just ridiculously well organized out of possession. So I get like Kompany, Bayern fans aren't like wholly convinced on him, I think. But I actually think he's done a pretty good job, and I'm quite excited to see what he do next year.
Yeah, fair. I think he's done a really good job too. But I think maybe because he got relegated, people didn't really want to give him his flowers. But yeah,
Roy, do you know what?
What
I'm glad
flowers
we
do you
went-
deserve for being relegated? Can I
Do you
just
know what?
ask?
M1, I'm glad Roy touched this subject because we can start talking about a few uncles before we end this now. I want your opinion, Alex, on the Stuttgart manager and the job he's done.
Sebastian Hoeneß, yeah, he's great.
Sebastian Hoeneß, yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely in like one of the probably one of the top 3 young managers I'm like monitoring. Basically, there's not like many young managers around who I trust at like a top club. Like the easy one is Spurs, right? Spurs, they sack Andrew Postecoglou. Who would you put there? Seb Hoeneß is probably my number 1 pick.
another manager I liked, but no one decided to back me on it. And now he's a winner as well. He brought Stuttgart their first trophy in 18 years.
You know what? Fair play, Roy. Because you've been talking about him for a good few years. So I have to give that one to you. Fair play. But yeah, Alex, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on. Definitely catch up again soon. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Hot days.
Thank you for
We'll
having
be
me on.
back again. Thank you very much, man. Take care, Alex.
Thank you.
Wait, before we go, everyone, make sure you follow Alex up on his socials. Follow him, support him. He's gonna be posting articles. He's gonna be talking to some of your guys' favorite players. Don't get emotional. She's gonna be speaking the truth. So just make sure you support, and we'll definitely have him on again before the season starts. Get his predictions on a couple of things based on the window and how we do. And Alex, Club World Cup. I want your prediction. Who do you think is gonna win it?
I'll be asleep.
You gotta watch the Club World Cup, man.
I'm not
That's
watching
gonna be a
World
big
Cup.
one. That's gonna be a big one, man.
Guys,
You gotta watch
I
it.
will die if I have to watch football for another month. I need a holiday. But yeah, thank you for having me on. Thanks to the panel. It's been a good chat.
Yeah, take care, bro.
Thanks, Alex.
Sweet.